Okay, so it's Tuesday the 18th of June. We are at Aroma Cafe. I've never been to Aroma
Me
Cafe,
either.
so if anything weird, freaky, groups of people start showing up doing the normal things, which pretty much happens to me everywhere worldwide, it'll just once again prove what's going on in places I've never been based on like Seymour, my lawyer, and everyone else's argument. Oh, it's just one or two random people. Yeah, 1 or 2 billion random people, or not random, but 1 or 2 people, 1 or 2 billion random people worldwide for 42 years. Right, and that's the entire point. Brittany has witnessed all these things and has been very verbal about it, especially when we're out in public locations.
Yeah.
Although lately you've been a little more afraid to say it.
Oh, I was sick last time too, and still, but maybe that's
okay.
why.
Because last time, actually, and I didn't even realize. Let's see, all the blacks, people showed up in all blacks.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And there was about 15 of them actually. I saw about maybe 6, and I was picking up, and as they're walking by and crossing each other, you know, that was one of the tactics. The other one was purple and blacks, which actually ramped up yesterday around my neighborhood. When I left, and then the all blacks, and then a big one, which is new within the last maybe 4 months. Blue pants and pink shirt.
Okay.
About 9 of those showed up.
Really?
Yeah, and you're watching, you know the door that was to the right of us?
Yeah.
They're coming in and out of the door. Blue jeans and pink shirt.
Okay. Blue jeans, okay.
And then the stripe tactic, which there was a combination of horizontal and vertical stripes, which was big about maybe 8 years ago or something, and the coffee beans out more than hills and things like that.
And the gray and black, right? Gray and black?
Oh yeah, some gray and blacks. Not as many as usual, but some gray and blacks. All black pants, all gray shirt.
I remember that.
And then yesterday they were ramping up. Yesterday was interesting. I had a lot of black people or African American people pissed off at me, and they all followed me to Ralph's.
Where?
At the same time.
Okay. I haven't seen any.
One guy actually giving me like a really mean look. And this all happened. Like I made a joke on Twitter the night before from the movie. I was watching the movie Undercover Brother, which is hysterical. And
that movie is
he goes solid, right? And so I took a picture of my hand going solid, right? That's not the type of thing that anyone cares about, especially if they're not following your social media accounts. If they're spying with these worldwide spy groups on my social media. So to sort of break it down and understand things that don't make sense, hey, you have 4 followers on Twitter because they keep shutting down your account, right? But yet when you make some Twitter joke, it goes worldwide. And then there's worldwide people in anger and rage as if you were the President of the United States, mad about things that normally people couldn't care less about. Right?
It was just, yeah.
But nobody's following your account trying to make it look like you're talking to yourself and you're crazy and things like this, right? It's kind of the conversation we had last week, how they're creating this situation where you have literally worldwide groups running around as if you're the President of the United States, spying on you, going, well, in high school you smoked marijuana, so we have to extradite you from society. But nobody cares if anyone smokes weed in high school, college now.
And it's legal now.
Unless they're the President and they have responsibilities like their finger over nuclear missile buttons.
Right.
So it's all out of context. And then if nobody knows you. Right? So why, right? Well, the why is to make someone look crazy.
Sorry, I was distracted by that noise.
Okay, so sorry, Brittany, what time do we have?
12:30. Hour and a half. Or hour and 40.
Okay.
Seen it too.
So, last week, You saw a tidbit of my life when I said, wait.
30 days of my life.
Oh, wait, I don't know. I messy notes, high-speed messy notes.
It's okay.
Karen C. Phillips asked me on the stand,
About
I can't remember the exact question, but I said, if I could give any person in this room or anyone else 30 days of my life, which has now been 18 years, every waking minute, 30 days of my life, the average person would have killed themselves in those 30
That's
days.
what she said?
That's what I said.
Oh, okay.
And she like laughed it off, like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. Right. You know, this lady has no clue.
Right.
Okay. And she has a hard drive of about 10 terabytes of proof, but in pre-trial, so anyways, but without getting into that, so you've seen, every time you're out, you've seen on video in your office, tons and tons of videos, not even close to the amount I have or given to my lawyers or anyone else. But enough. I mean, the first time looking at the video going, oh my god, I can't believe this.
Well, yeah, people were like screaming at you and cussing you out and all this stuff.
The scream. But not only that, the covert
attacks,
subliminal level, like at the park with the, who knows, 15 pairs of identical cars around this small park.
Once you pointed it out, I saw it for sure.
Yeah, things that are totally unheard of. I mean, totally like, how is it even possible to coordinate this with people worldwide against one guy? So you've seen all this, and more importantly, every time we've been out in public at different locations all over, from Woodland Hills, we're now in Newbury Park, Thousand Oaks, you've seen
the patterns
the patterns of what happens when I walk outside my house, right?
Yeah.
And when I'm in my house, just like we heard the alarm horn there twice a few seconds ago, all the neighbors are doing it over and over, or if I walk out on my porch, they know when I come out, and I do it, right? Things like that.
And I've seen them come to your house several times, the cops and stuff too.
Yeah, the cops trying to break in my house or get false information or twisted and contort information, false arrests to cover up their crime spree. So you've seen all that. So
didn't he win? Do you know? That's random. I'm sorry.
That's kind of interesting because I don't generally follow things like city council, but I looked on there's a website, cd12.org, for District 12 City Council, and it states that in January 2009, so-and-so was elected. So, supposedly, according to Dincy, June 4th, he was going to see if he won or not, but nothing's on the website stating this is who won for June 4th, and I have a feeling what usually happened is that Sean Dincy is a corrupt douchebag working their scams, and probably what happened was he lost at the end of 2018, the beginning of 2019, but they realized I found out this information, and they wanted to sort of try to twist and contort it, make it look like I'm obsessed with Sean Dincy, and things like that, because obviously I'm checking out his Facebook accounts, which he's posting things not only about me, but other people, possible suspects, and everyone go after this guy, and this guy might throw a party, so everyone go after him. Well, it's not a crime to throw parties. No. Right? So I'm definitely on alert from this guy who's
on 6 attempts with his
coworkers trying to break in my house on surveillance video.
Bringing you the thing from Starbucks, all this stuff.
Yeah, working with mass worldwide groups and his so-called neighborhood watch groups to hunt down, stalk, and kill me, and then call the neighborhood watch group and try to get reactions, set me up, get reactions. Yeah, of course you're going to be like, what's this guy up to now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're not seeking him out.
No, he came into my life with Jensen in 2013, trying to silence me.
Right. What? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to jump around. You sent me an email of a recording of some woman talking about...
Oh, yeah, that's my neighbor Marlene. Did you hear it? It's very short.
No, I didn't listen to it yet.
It's a simple couple-minute conversation about our homeowners association, HOAorganizers.com, and how we used to be part of a bigger company and now it's a small company, and how they're taking all the HOA fees and they're using them for one side, but they're letting they're not putting any money into our side.
Really?
And so we kind of get into a conversation about how people were forced to move and
Oh my gosh.
thugging things, and then I tell her I have these things they did to me on video, right? Her saying, well, I'm afraid to tell them. Or she says something like, I reported that the gate lock doesn't work, and they said, well, people just hop the gate, so why should we fix it? Something, and I said, well, that's irrelevant. It's our money to evenly distribute and fix, and since we haven't had grass in 5 years.
I know, that's crazy.
Things like this, right? The whole conversation was, well, the people on this side are on the board, so they use the money for their own benefit.
That's terrible.
And I think going, well, Terrence Scroggins and Greg Koenig are on that side, right, in 1 and 2.
Right.
Yeah. And Terrence was on the board at one point, right? Yeah. Do you see motive?
That's
okay, right?
terrible.
So anyways, that's all recorded. Oh, and then I asked her, of course, at the end,
that's not
would you like to do an interview about that? And she said no.
Okay.
Definitely no. I knew she was going to say that.
Have you talked to her before?
Now and then, but the thing was, at first she was, with the rest of them, angry at me that I'm all these things, I'm doing all these things, and...
But now that it affects her, she's, like, talking, or...
Who knows, right?
Okay.
I think it's more now that I've notified enough people with enough proof, now she's forced into neutral because she has no leverage play. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, people don't...
Would you like some hot milk for your drink?
Hot milk?
I'm good.
I'll take a little bit. Thank you.
Warm it up.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I mean, people don't generally take part in things like this to begin with.
Correct.
So you have to kind of look at their moral integrity
That's what I was wondering about.
beforehand, right? And so that's the problem is you tell someone, look, this is what's being done, and they go, I don't care, you're a horrible monster, then you know they're not a good person to begin with. Because they've made all these judgments based on things that don't make sense.
Based on
they're taking part.
hearsay or whatever.
Based on hearsay, but more important, once your actions, look, everyone makes judgments.
Right.
But it's your actions.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't like that guy over there. I don't like that guy's car. I don't like what he wears. I don't like what he does for a living.
And that's...
I went on a date. I don't like that guy or girl, whatever. We all do that every few minutes of our life.
Right. But we don't all...
How do we deal with that? Well, I went on a date with this person. I don't like him, so now I have to kill him.
You don't see them again. Right. That's what you do, you know?
You stay away, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's not... Yes, exactly. Yes.
So,
you don't do... what's going on here.
Yeah, that's actually part a little lower down here about judgments and my mother and the scams. About Kevin, you're not allowed to judge people in a literal sense. I think we'll get to that. But
okay.
If you judge someone, then you think you're a judge in a court of law. And that's kind of how this starts at 29 when my mother's saying weird things to me on the phone about not being allowed to judge people or weird things like this, right?
Okay. Everybody does to an extent, you know.
Every few minutes, you're driving down the street. Should I make this right turn? It's raining. I don't want to stop.
Yeah, make judgments.
They're all judgments.
Absolutely.
It's the magnitude of the judgment and how you act.
Right. Absolutely. Or if you, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so. Okay, so you've seen what's going on. You've witnessed tons of things, and you haven't seen even remotely close to 1%, but you've seen it, just insane things. And more importantly, last week we kind of talked about my friend Greg Walk in high school.
I heard part of the conversation.
Yeah, we went through the first conversation, but more important, did you have time to sort of take that in, like let it marinate, or? Well,
yeah, it was pretty clear that he was not wanting to engage in like a real conversation.
Okay, but did you feel anything? I mean, why? Why do you think that?
Well, I want to say because his kids were in the car or whatever. You know, he wanted to talk individual. I know, but like I would like to say that. You know what I mean?
Okay, but why did he then want to
talk later?
Later with the kids not around.
And he didn't want to then?
No.
I didn't hear that one.
He didn't want to do interviews. He didn't want to.
Do you have that recording? I didn't hear that one.
I did, not with me. But,
okay.
I emailed it to you. But the mental illness tactics, man taking part.
Mm-hmm. He said that every sentence.
I mean, you didn't get a sense that he was actually involved in the frame jobs.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's doing the same things that you're talking about, like with everyone, you
Right,
know. And
like
he wasn't.
There was no concern.
No, there,
Like
I mean, there
friends
was no
in trouble.
thing.
You know,
there
I mean, look, we
wasn't
haven't.
Well, it's just.
We haven't. He went off to college at 18. I went off to college. I saw him once at 28.
Well,
we didn't really keep in touch, but
which
it
is
shouldn't
fine.
matter.
Right. It's and you really helped him out when you were younger too, and so he didn't even acknowledge
Yeah,
that.
I
You
mean,
know.
it was like, oh, you're in trouble, we'll just die, right?
Right.
It's like, I'm going to take part with tactics, right?
And yeah, and I would be like, thank you so much, man. Like, man, whatever, because you did like prevent that from happening with your brother and him being hurt. You know.
Yeah. So the common sense conclusion is, and I'm pretty sure we talked about this last week, is that he must be involved in something.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Unless he's just
If you're not,
psycho.
it's the same thing with the police. The police know what's going on, and they skate this way, they skate that way.
Well, Seymour
they
even
write up false
acknowledged
police
that.
reports. They keep arresting me. They keep writing up newer lies. Dixie's last lie was, and I'm not even sure he works for the police anymore. By the way, I looked
Really?
on
Weird.
the city council thing. It said he's no longer like a police officer who's running for city.
Oh.
So I think all this posts after, and I'm not 100% sure after 2019 are just trying to
Okay.
bait me into situations.
Okay.
Um,
Well, and I want to say like Seymour even acknowledged like the police like are not.
yeah, Seymour acknowledged that the city wants me dead and gone, but yet nobody can explain why the city wants me.
Nobody will tell
First
you
of all,
anything.
the city, which just magically happens to link to every city I've ever lived in since 5 years old,
Right.
but all working together, but they haven't explained to me what the problem is
Never.
in the beginning.
Right.
Right? They try to cover it up with people coming after me and then saying, if you react, look what you did.
Right.
But they never go to the beginning.
Right.
What's it about? I mean, what
You're
sparked
always
a worldwide...
defending yourself, like when they say that you did you hit him or whatever. I forget who this.
Did I what?
When that guy with the keys that wouldn't let you into your place, like you were taking a walk, he wouldn't let you take a walk, and he had the key.
Oh, Bailey Bernard.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
okay, Bailey Bernard, yeah, and then they were like, well, did you hit him or whatever, right? Even though like
I couldn't hear you.
sorry, I'm still sick a little
Oh,
bit.
okay.
They asked you if you like hit him or pushed him or something, even though he had been like attacking you before.
Correct. They left out the entire story like
Yeah.
everything else. Did you touch him? Did you hit him?
Right.
It was all about it.
But he like
But that isn't irrelevant.
you were defending yourself.
And that's still grounds for arrest.
Defending yourself?
Correct, because then you have to prove who started it. But I made the first call, but why wasn't he arrested? You know what I'm saying?
He
I
should-
was unarrested.
You called the police
I
for
called
help.
first. I was arrested. They didn't care what happened. They just kept making up excuse after excuse why I'm crazy and I'm imagining.
You
and I
called
did
for
this.
help. Why on earth would you do that if you were guilty?
Yeah, especially with all the other calls late
Right.
in advance and the things on video showing that what's going on, right?
Right.
So
Exactly.
they have no excuse, but it's the same thing. Why? If you find out this thing's happening and you go to the police and they refuse to help you and say you're crazy and we need to lock you away, and they're doing things to make you try to trigger you to make you look crazy, then they have something to hide of unimaginable proportions. And so now Gregoire is exerting this same behavior.
Right. Not
Kevin's
acknowledging.
calling me for help, even though he sparked the thought by sending me that letter.
Well,
And
the letter, the
they
picture.
knew I was going to try to contact him.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to get back to me.
And then his
And
wife
then
answered.
Jen tricked him. I don't know if I want to say that, but Jen put him on speaker because I accidentally called Jen. I think she kind of knew. I'm on the fence. I'm your friend, but I'm not your friend.
Jen?
Right? No, Greg.
Greg? Oh, okay.
Right, I'm your friend, I'm here for you, but I don't want to help you. The same thing all my friends did, right? Because he's involved in something. And
Yeah, it's
common
like he's-
sense says, without any proof, any confession, says that he probably planned out the entire scam, like we talked about last week, of going over to my house, the little Jen Yang, hang out with Jen Yang, Jason trying to get me to spy on people.
Do you think?
for him.
Do you think he's scared? Like, why would he do that?
No. I think he's scared in respect that he's involved in something, and when the shit hits the
he doesn't want it to come out. The fans?
Shit hits the fan, questions are going to come out.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Especially with the police. Okay? Example, if there's a civil suit, or I shouldn't say that. If Bailey Bernard was arrested, well, Bailey, who told you to go after Kevin and assault battery?
Right.
Oh, Dincy did. Well, doesn't Dincy work for the LAPD?
He did.
Right? Did you get it? Jonathan Franklin in 2013. I don't want to get a police officer fired.
Right, which implies in itself that he could. If there's something to do.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Which is
why?
crazy.
That's a defense attorney's job. They don't hang out every night drinking beers with cops.
Unless
Their
they do,
job
I don't
is
know.
to protect the defendant.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now you have to sort of ask the really important question. Okay, so the dynamics. This is important. Now you've seen Greg walk.
Yeah.
16 years old. High school. 16 to graduation, whatever. Greg was a really good friend.
I know.
The dynamics
Your friend,
of
not
Greg
your brother's.
Waugh, you've seen the dynamics at 16.
Right.
Okay? That dynamic applies to all my friends. Okay?
All of them.
So now you know that opens up doors to serious questions about what was going on in high school
Right.
around me.
Have you talked to your other friends from high school recently?
No. Well, I know. At 29, let's see. Maybe I'll skip here.
That makes
at
me...
29. Okay, 29, I was in the University of Colorado. Mike Huntley, my mother, my father all put on the peer pressure for me to move back a couple classes early from University of Colorado and finish it at like Pierce and transfer the credits. And Mike Huntley wanted to start a company.
Right. That is your friend. Is he your friend from high school too?
Well, I met. He was originally my brother's friend.
Okay.
He's actually like a year or two older than my brother.
Okay. How did they?
Met through my brother's friend Mitch Viner in Lost Hills, and he kind of started hanging around, but he isn't who he says he is.
Right.
He's probably working for the government. And at 14, met around 14, so you have to understand the dynamics. Once again,
young kid, yeah.
The older guy
you knew him
is sort of clinging on to me. I'm a little older than my friends, so I'm hanging out with some of my brother's friends. Because they moved me back.
In TK or whatever it's called?
Whatever.
T1?
Sonny's Guys, where I kissed the black girl, which they're so mad about.
That's ridiculous.
And, but remember that, 14.
You've known him for...
around 16, we talk about Mike Huntley introducing me to Melody the stripper and saying, Melody's bouncer guy is out of town. Do you want to bounce for a few cheeseball bachelor parties?
Yeah.
And trying to make it look like, because I started lifting it.
When you're 16?
16, and I somehow think I'm some super muscle man dude, or like just working the crazy tactics, right?
But at the time, I'm sure you're like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, of course. Any of you high schoolers, right? And so,
right, who wouldn't?
Then it's remember we have the conversation about, well, I gave you the cookie, now I gotta punish you.
Right, you took it.
Of course, the cookie isn't illegal.
Right.
It's not illegal to eat a cookie.
No.
Right? Okay, so 14. Right? You need to understand the dynamics.
That's like, how many years is that? 15 years? Until 29?
To 29. And the entire time, remember, at 29 in the office with Tim Thompson, well, you built adult websites, didn't you? And things like that.
When he wanted you to, right?
Yeah, and then Tim Thompson sitting behind him pretending he's swinging a golf club.
Behind?
Mike Huntley. So they're sitting there kind of like with this, you're a dead man. Your past caught up with you. You know what you did.
And you're like, well, tell me.
We sent 4 people from the age from 21 to 29 to take it to strip clubs for some reason in each state. We're doing all these freaky things. Trying to make it look like you're stalking strippers and porn stars. You started building adult websites. You started getting into studio photography. You're a bad guy. You need to be removed from society. You're out of control.
Right.
Out of control. For who? Mother Teresa? I mean, you know what
Well,
I'm saying?
they like egged you on too. They
Yeah,
wanted
so
you
here's
to.
the cookies.
Yeah.
And then it's now we're going to punish you, but there's no actual crime.
No.
So why are the police hunting me down with worldwide support, right?
That's the question.
Okay, so why was this is important. It's actually in my notes. Why was Kim Thompson swinging the golf club?
Behind.
What does that relate to? What does golf
What
have to do with Kevin Burrow?
Oh, my first thought was the crowbar thing, but I don't know.
Actually, it's a little before that, and it has to do with my mother coming up to me asking me, and this is somewhere between 14 and 16.
Is it on the next page? Sorry.
If I had hit our neighbor kid, Josh Burnham, in the head with a golf club.
Did you accident?
No.
I did that to my cousin, but
Not only did I not hit Josh Burnham in the head with a golf club, I was never friends with him. He wasn't in my class.
You didn't hang
like
out
all
with
these
him.
other situations, in some random event that not only I believe didn't happen,
yeah,
it's complete fiction, but I wouldn't have been around him for it to happen.
you never were. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think it ever happened, and now you sort of see my mother's pathological lying with the rest of my family that just keeps jumping from one thing to the next.
Right.
Um,
I mean,
that's fairly relevant.
and why would it, like, honestly, if that had even happened, like, I hit my cousin accidentally in the head with a golf club. She was fine. But, like, kids do things without meaning to, you know?
Well, first there's the
I was
context.
hit. Yeah.
Okay, was someone hit with a golf club?
I
Were they in
don't
a
know.
hospital for critical condition?
No.
Did they die? What
No.
happened?
Nothing.
Well, just like I supposedly killed someone, according to Starbucks Corporation and Dempsey and
Which
all these
was
other
proven,
people,
like,
there's no
to be-
crime scene.
No, because it was
Right?
totally false.
Right?
Those accusations.
They
They
can't
proved
answer
that,
the simple
right?
question of who did I kill?
Right. Because
Right.
didn't they prove that too in your last court date that, like, they didn't hear that anywhere or
Which?
whatever about the Starbucks employees or whatever?
In respect
About
to what?
like what they are claiming you said.
What do you mean I said?
They were claiming that you said you were gonna, like, take out all Starbucks.
Oh, Dempsey claims with a Starbucks employee, which most likely was paid off, that I supposedly threatened to kill all Starbucks customers.
Right.
I walked into a Starbucks yelling and screaming, threatening to kill all Starbucks customers.
Which clearly you did not.
Correct. So Brittany has seen the video. Not only did I not say one thing to anyone except
Thank you.
the guy. No, I didn't say things. Except the guy that the employee. I also showed him that he was on video within the last 3 days of being attacked at every coffee shop and public business.
I thought I saw that video. Was it the one where they came out with the paper or no?
No, that's years ago. That's like
Okay.
2012 or 11.
Okay. I thought, because you went up, you got your coffee, it's totally normal, like, your interaction. And then he's,
Well,
right?
okay, first, apply the 2011, Kevin. You need to sign.
Oh, I
You've
know.
done all these things and you need to sign this paper or you can't come back. Try to force me into false confessions.
Right.
And apply that with now, because now you've seen, don't even bring that into question yet, you've seen the proof that Starbucks employees are being paid off a lot.
Yeah, I mean, because you didn't...
And these lies are such lies that supposedly he showed up with an FBI agent trying to turn me into an enemy of the state.
Right. I mean,
Okay.
how do you know that they were, like, paid off?
Common
Or
sense.
just, like, okay,
Okay.
like, for a reason,
Look, some of it, I can't
reason.
tell you who's paid off and who's not, but there are obviously people that are being paid off.
In some way, shape, or
Okay.
form to do these things.
Correct, and people
Yeah.
don't. Look, Mike Huntley invested 15 years.
Right.
And right after that, he bought a new house.
Okay.
He didn't get it from Signet money, I'm telling you right now. He made crap.
So you're... okay.
Okay, where did he
get
get the
it.
money to buy the new house right after that? Okay, so, and where did that money come from? Most likely my father.
Okay.
And who's paying off Dempsey, more importantly?
You think your dad?
Either my dad or my stepfather, Arnold Silver.
Arnold, sorry. You, I know you don't talk to your dad, but Arnold you communicate with sometimes?
A little, but our communications have been either his belittling with the rest of his family,
Yeah.
or trying to manipulate me into making me look crazy or on the run or things like that. So really, you don't want to talk to that. You want to distance yourself from that type of, not only abusive, but while they're recording your calls and disseminating the information to the mass groups worldwide to try to make you look crazy.
Right.
That's not really someone that's on your side here.
No.
And they're going ballistic and aggro to begin with.
Right.
Because people don't do that type of thing, even if they think you're a bad person.
No, that's too, no, exactly. I was just wondering why, like, sometimes, well, I guess you feel more strongly about your dad than Arnold.
They're awful.
I know, but, like, you haven't spoken to, sorry, oh, he's a truck. You haven't spoken to your dad in, like, years, right?
No, he's dead to me.
How come you feel stronger about him than Arnold? I'm just curious. I never thought about it.
I don't think I do. I think, well, no, maybe I do because I watched him for 14 years sit in an office and tell everyone to do these things to me, invite me out to lunches with Lorena Escobar every week, multiple times per week, doing these horrible things to me, accusing me of lighting our hill on fire when he damn well knew it was my brother,
right?
And 100,000 other things he's trying to pin on me through everyone else's. Right, so whether he's equally involved, he's exerted a lot of energy for 14 years straight,
Lying.
doing horrible things directly, as opposed to maybe Arnold paying off people and having them do it non-direct. I don't know.
And it's your dad. I would be like super hurt, like at first or whatever, and like still probably.
Well, I mean, when you find out that
I would be like,
not only can you not get away from it, but he's siding with and telling the people to do it. What do you think about that?
No, it's horrifying.
And you don't understand. This is your own father, and
I don't think
he's just doing what he did to his dogs. He wants to put shock collars on me and lock me in cages for half my life and things like that. And you're just like, is this really happening, right? And
right, like disbelief, like how can my
correct,
father
and
do
you
this?
can't get away from it because they have worldwide groups helping.
Right. I would.
That's
I mean,
the tricky part.
were you like angry or like sad or like just like
Well,
confused?
over 18
all of
years,
it.
It goes through different phases of. I don't want to go too much.
I'm
into
sorry.
that
I'm just.
because
I just never thought about that before. You know.
Look, it goes from I'm confused, I'm sad, I don't understand, this is freaky, what the hell's happening, why won't anyone help me, this needs to stop. Then comes the anger later, like, these people who are torturing, they're not going to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Then comes the I'm going to sit out with signs and websites and this and that, and they get angry and start having people physically attack you. And, it goes through a plethora of 100 different emotions. None of them good, and none of them with any hope or recourse of your survival, because there's a planetary level murder operation to kill you, and not one person is coming forward and says this is wrong, okay? But that's totally...
I know, I'm sorry, I never thought about that, because I know, like, you don't talk to him at all, your dad, but then,
Who would
like...
you tell? You're not even allowed to tell the police, or your
I
father
know.
runs around saying you're not allowed to defend yourself with Mike Huntley, and then he tries to kill you.
And you
they
know what
have
you did, or whatever.
Billions of people helping him, literally billions of people worldwide. Who do you tell?
Not your family, apparently.
Correct. If I have a website right now with endless proof of video, and the majority of the world says,
No,
I know
I
what's
don't see
happening,
that.
but I don't want to look, and you're a dead man,
Or
what
they
do you tell?
Right, or they say, oh, I don't see it, or whatever.
Yeah, and they do because they start taking part in the anger.
Oh,
Okay,
it makes me
So
sad
if
for you.
you're
that
ever in a
happened.
situation where you know that you're going to be hunted and killed, and you have no recourse,
You're not going to trust anybody.
this is one of those situations. Now the question is, why are they doing it?
Right, that's the question.
Because they want the reaction. They
But-
want that Kevin's threatened to kill all Starbucks customers,
Which
and
they'll
Kevin's
never
the next
get.
Unabomber, and Kevin's the next Vegas shooter reaction. And
No.
why do they want the reaction?
Right, but
Well,
why?
that's a complex question based on cover-up operations.
That's what I'm saying.
With the original agenda to remove someone from society based on psychological labeling from the psychology community, police and government, in flagging and kill operations, which people don't want to believe, which I didn't believe myself.
Well, of
until I
course
saw it.
not. Exactly, because like you don't want to ever fathom something like that. I mean, you can't even think of something like that happening until like you're in it. You know what I mean?
You can, and it doesn't matter how many fictional movies of these theories, and even if you watch some fictional conspiracy movies, we see conspiracies all the time in the government. Not on this level, but we see all sorts of, whatever, Watergate. Okay, Watergate was a huge presidential conspiracy. There's all sorts of political conspiracies on different levels, but most people don't want to believe, especially when we come to ideas, movies like Born Identity or whatever, where people are trained as assassins.
Someone thought of it, yeah.
Yeah, you know, you don't know, is this some creative writer, or is it something that...
A recount of something or something?
Yeah, and then if you want to really get down and dirty, well, what did they try to do to me? They tried to do to me what they did to Edward Snowden. Oh, Edward Snowden, a hacker, he doesn't know anything, and blah, 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 and he's a menace, and oh, wait a minute, now the guy's speaking, and he's on video, and he's a freaking genius.
Now he's a threat, yeah.
Okay,
that's like...
So why did the government try to turn everyone against him?
Because he had information he didn't want people to know.
Correct. Okay, so that's a government conspiracy based on highly demented NSA-level operations.
He was doing the right thing.
That none of us wanted to believe. They were all kind of like white tails.
Right.
Okay.
And he's like, I'm going to share this information because, right? Edward Snowden? Yeah.
Yeah, now think about my trial. Seymour wouldn't allow anything to talk about my life, who I am, going to college,
I know.
the things I've accomplished, the knowledge I have. Kept some crazy conspiracy theorist that watches lots of movies and has no grasp. The reality was his opening and closing arguments, not in those words, but that's what he was trying to convey to the jury.
Right. And none of that's why I'm glad like we talk about the things you have done and all these things because you I mean a lot of things. You started your own companies, like you went to school, you have college degrees,
Well, listen, I'm not the smartest
but you
in the
have
bucket,
accomplished these things though, functioning.
But here's my, and I don't want to spend too much time. 14 learning to build. I mean, this isn't. 14 building RC cars piece by piece and modifying them. 16 picking up books, learning how to build internal combustion engines from hot rod magazines, buying books from a bookstore and actually going out and building engines on my own.
Yeah.
Nobody helping me.
See, that's amazing.
College, learning computer animation, 3D animation and visual effects on my own because I wasn't in one of those specialty schools and it was a new technology, and so I learned all that on my own and brought it into the college and integrated it all.
Did you really?
Yeah, a degree. They didn't have the technology there.
That's so cool.
A split degree in computer science, and then a BFA in fine arts, where I went into 3D animation, visual effects, where I worked for Universal Studios, modern video, film, some smaller Thousand Oaks companies. Then starting Signet East Services Internet Host Provider with Mike Hunley, then getting into studio photography with green screen and visual effects, then getting in 14 years of IT from server hardware builds, OS builds, Linux-based systems, you name it. Then come 29, Mike Hunley, you're a dead man with the police, we're using the system against you, bye-bye, die.
Makes no sense at all.
The judicial system in courts, Kevin's a crazy man like Mel Gibson in the movie Conspiracy Theory, has no grasp on reality, blah, 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 this and that. Doesn't leave his house, is agoraphobic. This is coming from a guy that used to hang glide and skydive. I'm not major, but was getting into it. Do you see a little inconsistency here on the information that's being given out worldwide and who I am?
Yes.
Okay, so that's important. Why wouldn't you bring that in as circumstantial evidence, especially when the prosecutor's bringing in things that aren't relevant?
Right. I mean, I wish, that's why I wanted you to, like, I'm glad you just shared all that, you know? Because this is, like, you have been very productive and done these things and
not
everything.
Not going to be able to get to it today, but this is a detailed list of what Seymour got and many others right instantly after, and I had to try to figure out how to print it so it's readable. This is just Terrence Scroggins. This isn't Bailey Bernard, but this is the setups with Terrence Scroggins and all the things that were going on at the same time, starting 2 days before, with Brian Ushar at Valley Automotive telling me that Dincy was hunting me down off his website on Facebook 2 days before the arrests, and all the things and all the people working with them in mass attacks. And this is the simple version.
Jeez. Did you print it this big to hang up somewhere?
No, I printed it for our conversation.
Oh, I didn't know if you had
it's
posters
so long,
or something.
You can't read it if it's on one page.
Oh. I didn't know. I was like, this is like a perfect poster size. I
Yeah.
didn't know. So.
Well, we'll have to get that, and then I have another one like that for Bailey Bernard.
Okay.
Showing the inconsistencies with the prosecution, the police, the lies, the smears, the setups,
That's crazy.
and the reality of the situation is even if I killed one of them, it would have been in the guidelines of self-defense, even though there's absolutely nothing I did to any of them.
Right, exactly. Right. Oh, sorry. Did you want to do this other one first?
Well, we're not going to be able to get to that before.
To this? Okay.
It's already 11.
What time is it? 11:30?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, so... Okay. Okay, so Greg Waugh, you can understand the dynamics that something freaky is going on with Greg Waugh all the way back in 16, showing that something freaky is going on within the system, the government, the high school, and the people around it.
Something freaky is going on with the weather, too. I can't believe it.
Punishment from my family was mad about telling me I'm never allowed to leave the house or interact with people.
Or defend
Trying
yourself.
to say it's mental illness, this starts at 5 years old. I think the point I was getting at is, before you, I saw a lady named Christina Vescovo out in Westlake.
In Westlake?
Yeah.
Okay. Christina was
Playing these same games that nothing's going on, and it's not healthy for me to talk about my problems.
That's
just
what
live
she
my
said?
life. Yeah. And telling me to do their cheeseball little brain paint thing that pissed me off and try to get reactions.
Oh, that's what you were saying. Christina Viscovo.
And
How long did you meet with her? Like a month?
a month or something.
Are you on the first page? I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. On the phone when I first started seeing her, she tells me that one of her patients, a 29-year-old, had turned into a paranoid schizo, and she wrote a book about her life, and she only had one reader,
Yeah.
and so she needs help, and so she's not allowed to leave her house.
What? This is the weirdest thing.
And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure.
Where is this at on here? I'm sorry.
What?
Where's this at on here? I just want to find where.
Oh, the very top, like right here.
Okay.
Okay, so let's do the math. When did Kevin Perlman and me find out what's going on? 29.
29.
When did the psychology community step in and try to cover this up with my mother and Susan Donner? 29.
Okay.
There's no such thing as someone's a paranoid schizo, they're not allowed to leave their house.
No, not at all.
Next. If someone is a paranoid schizo, if they're not, if they're a conspiracy theorist, if they're
They want them
some
to live their
weirdo that
lives.
skips around all happy and writes books about them being whatever. There should be no problem with the police, the government, anyone in the community saying you're not allowed to write a book about your life unless they have something to hide.
Wait, so she was saying her former client wrote a book about her life at 29, and then.
Well, she was using it as a
example.
She was alluding that person's me.
What?
Come on.
No, I mean, why would she say that? I'm so confused.
Because she was delivering me a message.
Right.
You're a violent paranoid schizo, you're not allowed to leave your house.
That's
Think
like
about
the
it.
complete opposite.
She's the same age as me. I hired ghostwriters to write a book. The police got mad, and everyone at Starbucks
Did you
got
write it?
mad.
Did you write it? Or did they write it?
Half of it. It needs a lot of work, and I couldn't work with people because they were all being contacted. It's not helping me.
A ghostwriter? I didn't know that. We never talked about that before.
But it's hard to write a book about this type of thing. But
I think it'd be
the
an
cops
important
went
thing.
apeshit ballistic. What? Isn't it the First Amendment? We're allowed to say whatever we want. We're allowed to write whatever we want.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the time of tyranny.
I want you to finish that.
So, why would Kevin Perlman not be allowed to write a book and people get angry about... Look, I don't care if someone wants to say I'm crazy.
Right.
Nobody's going to tell you you're not allowed to write a book because you're crazy.
No.
Unless they have something to hide.
Right.
It's irrelevant. I mean, people write weird, random, crazy books People
all the
write books about
time.
how to pick up women by putting freaking salamis down their pants, whatever.
Ew.
Okay, but you know what I'm saying. People don't care.
No.
But
So, one question. You said she only had one reader. What was she implying with
she
that?
was implying that I'm crazy and I'm not allowed to write a book or leave my house.
Are you the one reader? Like, who's the one reader?
She's just using an analogy.
I'm sorry.
She's
That
trying
just
to make
stood
me
out.
think that it's my fault.
Okay.
Look,
That's ridiculous.
she obviously doesn't know. She doesn't have a twin client.
Right. No, that's why I was like, those are
It
crazy
just turned
coincidences.
schizo at 29 or whatever.
That's what I was thinking. Like, what are the odds of that?
Yeah.
You know? Okay.
What are the odds of turning schizo at 29 alone is impossible.
I mean,
And just like Kevin Perlman is not allowed to leave his house, anywhere I go in the world, people show up, you're not allowed to leave your house, we're going to torture and kill you.
Right.
And Ditsy saying, get in your house, basically not wanting me to leave my house.
right.
Okay? So the point is that what she's delivering an indirect message. You're not allowed to leave your house because you're a paranoid schizo. Then obviously
That's
it switches to more
ridiculous.
violent paranoid schizo because we want to remove you from society.
But you've done
But
nothing.
even if I were to be a paranoid schizo,
Doesn't matter.
nobody's going to tell you you're not allowed to leave your house.
No, they would want, like, honest, I've worked with people, like, who struggle with, like, schizophrenia and all that stuff, and the goal is to, like, acclimate them back into society so they can live a functioning, happy life.
Correct.
So it doesn't
the
make
point
sense.
is- but not only that, but people do have mental illness.
Oh,
And just because you
absolutely.
have mental illness doesn't mean you're a menace to society.
No. No, not at all.
90% of people with actual mental illness
They're
work
totally
fine in
great.
society.
Yeah.
And so Sean Dempsey running around that we need to remove people from society who are mentally ill
That's
is
the complete
linked to
opposite.
something with the psychology community, and all my recordings of LAPD police scanners going possible male mental,
I
possible
hate
male
that.
mental, follow them, watch them,
That's
track
the
their cell
opposite.
phone. Those are all crimes.
It's the opposite of what needs to happen. You know, that like makes the stigma of all that even bigger, and so people can't.
Correct. So maybe the guy has some tiny little minute mental illness, which
I mean,
in a
honestly,
DSM-4 or 5 or whatever is like, who cares? Right? Hey, you suffer from anxiety disorder. Okay, so now we're going to follow you around bashing your skull in with a
it's like
crowbar.
1 in
Well, now you
5
suffer
people
from
do.
brain trauma and bleeding disorders.
Which are crimes, right? It's
Right.
like 1 in 3 people, or like 1 in 5, struggles with a mental illness of some sort
Yeah,
at some
but
time
that's
in
the
their
problem
life.
I have with the DSM is that everything's a mental illness.
Right, or like short-term anxiety, sure,
Right, they're all
grief and
labels.
loss,
They're
yeah.
labels that, it's like, you know how every kid has ADD, so now every kid has to be pumped full of medication.
Yeah, no, I don't agree
It's
with
like
that at all.
paranoia. It's the next,
Right.
right?
No, you're right. Absolutely.
It doesn't matter.
No, it really doesn't. If they're good people, they're good people. If
Yeah.
they're not, they're not. Period.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so did we talk about my brother hiding the anarchist cookbook? In
You
the cupboard?
did mention that.
Did we do it on camera?
I think so last week about how like you put it together years later or something.
Let's see. Just a quick recap. I put together some years later after my father claiming that I lit our back hill on fire. After my brother and Richard Grunberg went around throwing sparklers down our back hill with brush and lighting it back on fire. My father, for some reason, is trying to cover up all these things by
Saying it was
saying
you.
it was me, showing that most likely they were doing it with intent to frame me like everything else.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that's
My
ridiculous.
brother,
You
right
didn't-
by the garage door, had a anarchist cookbook in the cupboard there. Now, well, nothing was ever directly said about it. Maybe that's why for 18 years, every time I go to a restaurant, the chefs were whistling at me. I'm not sure. But I just sort of threw that in there. Okay, so,
Seymour saying you've been labeled.
Seymour saying I've been labeled with mental illness. We talked about this a couple weeks
We
ago.
did, yeah.
By the Gov, but yet they all leave out my entire life accomplishments like we just talked about, and can't specifically say what the mental illness is with no actual official labels other than you're mentally ill and you need to be rid of the world.
Right. Exactly. Has
Right.
anybody ever actually like labeled you with anything
No. I mean, Susan Donner tried, but
in the
after
hospital?
the first visit,
Right.
she didn't know who I was. Okay, the first thing you need to understand is you can't walk up to someone who doesn't know you and they just throw some label on you.
No.
Right?
No, it's not fair.
And so And that's the problem with these DSM labels.
And in the emergency room, right after you got bitten by the dog, didn't the doctor
No, the doctor tried to... First of all, the ER doctor, that's important, tried to write that I suffer from delusional disorders.
And nothing about your physical...
Above... No, he had it in there.
Oh, he did?
It's
Okay.
all under it. Treated for dog bites, this and that. All the photos with me of all the clothing shredded and the blood everywhere, whatever. Then at the very top, working with Detective Shapiro, he suffers from delusional disorders, and then Detective Shapiro running around going, yes, other report says you suffer from delusional disorders. But you can't really get to the point, well, what about below that? Because they cut you off. No, you're crazy. I don't have time for you.
Okay, a crime was committed against you. Clearly, here's the blood and evidence and everything, but all they're focusing on is the
okay, but let's look at the bigger
label.
picture.
That's
Let's not focus on
ridiculous.
that.
No, I'm just saying they're not even looking at the hardcore evidence. They're just looking at this
they're
label.
intentionally bypassing it.
Right.
Now comes the more important question.
Why?
ER doctors don't put psychological evals in emergency room
No.
incidences.
I don't know. I've never seen their things.
Guy comes in and treated a dog bite. He suffers from delusional disorder.
Right.
First, how would he know if I suffer from any disorder without seeing me 100 times
Exactly.
and talking about my life and knowing me? So now he doesn't like something I said. So the emergency room doctors aren't psychiatrists. I mean, some of them have psychiatry degrees, but my point is that the boundaries of an emergency room is people being hit by cars or bitten by dogs. There's no psychological evaluations.
Right. I don't know if he...
I don't know. Sit down meeting after meeting telling him that I see pink elephants farting every day. Okay?
I'm sorry.
I know, but that's the reality. I know it's funny.
Right.
That's the reality of the situation.
I wonder...
So why is he putting it in there? No ER doctor is going to put that in an ER thing. Maybe some weird mental institution report.
Right.
A ER doctor putting in
mental health diagnoses. No.
So
not unless the person told them this information. Like if they ask them and they're like, I have depression, whatever.
Correct, and also, ironically, it also comes from some of my statements on social accounts that you're all delusional.
That you said that?
Yeah, so they get mad that I defend myself or say, look, you're a fucking nutso, get the fuck away from me. And they go, oh, you can't say that to someone, so now we're going to do it to you.
Right, and that's
Remember the whole copycat thing I was telling you about last week, how someone does something to me, then they try to manipulate me. By the way, there's a alarm horn, but so if someone does something to me, then they try to manipulate me into doing it back to someone else to make it look like I'm schizo or copying him.
I remember that.
Okay, so, but that was important. Yeah, obviously the ER doctor. Now remember, my father's an orthopedic surgeon and my brother is a urologist.
Right.
Okay, so not only that, but you have to link to my father's mentality with Patty Guggen that we protect our own, like mobsters.
Like the doctor crew or what?
Yeah, obviously my dad goes to doctor conventions and, do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
My dad mingles with all the doctors.
Right.
Now the doctor's son comes in and these things have been done to him by the doctor.
Right.
So this doctor over here might not be friends with Ronald Perlman,
right?
But I'm sort of standing up for him because he's a fellow doctor.
That's so messed up. Like anyone who would do that, knowing that this doctor has a son and this is his son, and that he's doing these things, and he would side with the doctor. That doesn't make any sense. It is
because you would think
that doesn't make sense.
You would think from a superficial standpoint that a doctor wants to help you.
Correct, and they'd be like, "This is horrendous."
But that's not always true.
Right.
Some doctors just want to make money.
Right. Some, yeah. Unfortunately, yes. What is
so we talked about Josh Burnham with the crowbar
the other day. You thought about
my
it.
My mother claims that she's never said this to me.
What?
That's 16 or 14, asking me if
saying
I hit Josh Burnham in the head with a crowbar.
You're not going to just make that
how
up.
She backtracks, or when you spoke with her on the phone. Oh, Kevin turned 29, disappeared for 5 years.
I know.
Bullshit. Kevin turned 29, he talked to you over about 7 years, and he got fed up with your bullshit, and then said, I'm done with you and your fucking lies.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, and then, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so the other day you asked me if... this is one. The other day last week you asked me if I was a good person, and I thought about it, and now thinking about it, my response, even though I am a good person...
I agree.
What does it matter? What the fuck does it have to do with the tea in China?
Honestly?
Yeah.
Because why on earth would people be doing these things to a good person who doesn't deserve it? And you are a good person.
Why would they be doing it to a bad person?
Well...
Think about that.
Still, yeah. I mean, yeah,
okay, you're right. If people don't like someone, they're more prone to get pissed off. But
or
still, think about it.
I'm thinking about, like, evil citizens, people who hurt people.
Okay, look.
You know?
If there's someone walking down here and they've, like, molested 100 children...
right. Then do whatever.
And they're okay, first of all, you have to keep it in reality. Take out the hearsay.
Yeah.
They've molested 100 little girls, and they're on the government's... What do you call it, predator list or whatever?
Yeah.
You kind of have something there.
That's what I'm saying.
But the hearsay...
Right.
You see that girl over there? She,
it did whatever. No, that's...
dick off.
Ew.
And, she's
I would just be like...
in banks, and
I'd be like, yeah, right, man.
Okay, there you go, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the point is that most people... Whether someone's a good person or a bad person,
they don't
are obsessed with themselves.
Yeah.
And they're not running around playing superhero.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, that was the thought that went through my head.
Okay.
Is that all these people worldwide are like running around playing superhero
against a good
with
person.
Dempsey's Neighborhood Watch Groups, and Kevin's a monster, and Mike Huntley is saying I'm out of control. We're using the system against you. But wait, let me understand this. Mike Huntley invests 15 years befriending me at 14 because I'm supposedly a monster.
That doesn't make any sense.
And it comes back to, what does it mean? Oh, and his ideology of a good person or a bad person is, well, if you build adult websites or go to strip clubs,
you're a bad person. Really?
So we're going to hunt you down and kill you with worldwide support, which doesn't really fit the criteria of a bad person.
Morals, like your internal, like whatever. Like, are you good or bad? Do you hurt people that or you know what I mean?
But remember that
it's like crazy.
That, opinion can change based on what you
beliefs and all that stuff.
Example,
and I get that.
In the Roman times, Christians believed that Jews were bad people.
That's just
okay. But now we're here in 2019, and good and bad are generally based on a law book that states you committed a crime, and the things that Mike Huntley was mad at me about with my family are crimes. They're not even close to, when you're bringing in good or bad, they don't even...
No.
Right? So...
No,
so it comes back to good and bad within reason, within the norm. It's irrelevant. Even if some dude's a drug dealer, okay? Even if that guy's over there makes $1 million a year selling
whatever
opium or coke or
whatever. You never know. Like
I couldn't care less. Exactly. I gotta go out and make my own money and live my life.
And that's the thing too with judgments. People judge people who do that or whatever. And like, sure, there's some drug dealers that aren't great, but there's also some that I've I know that have. They're doing this like for their families or like whatever else. Like they're trying to live and whatever. And people make those judgments.
I don't generally hang out with drug dealers. But
no, I'm just saying.
Soup doggy drug dealers or whatever.
Or people who don't know any other way of being. Like, you know what I mean? Just, you can't judge people without getting to know them.
And I'm not going to say whether it's right or wrong, but what I'm going to say is that most people aren't consumed with going, you see that guy over there, he's a drug dealer, I'll hunt him down with worldwide support.
No.
Right? That's my point.
Some people might say things, but they're not going to take that action. That's crazy.
Yeah, okay, and so that was the beginning of the conversation. We all make judgments every few minutes.
Right.
It's how we act on our judgments.
Exactly.
And to say I don't like this person, I don't want to talk to him, I don't want to be around him. Okay, fine. To say I don't like this person, I don't trust them, we're going to hunt them down, that's a crime. That's what we call vigilante.
Right.
And that's what Dempsey and all the people working with him are.
Right.
And that's what's been going on since my entire life.
So when you said you were thinking about this, when you say what does it matter? Was there more to it? Like, did you have questions for me or something?
No, I was just sort of making a point because you say, well, Kevin, you're a good person, right? And the first thing that went through my mind is, what does it matter? What
It
gives
should
someone
matter,
the
I
right
guess.
to hunt down and kill someone? Hey, you see that person's a bad person, I'm allowed to kill him.
No.
Okay, do you understand?
I'm just
It
saying
doesn't matter.
it should. That's all. And like, it's not right what's going on. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
Okay, so that was my entire point. It wasn't
Okay.
some long complex.
I didn't know if you. Okay.
No, I don't feel that I'm a bad person. I'm just sort of making a point.
Yeah.
The question itself,
It makes no difference,
it
basically,
makes no
in this
difference. People
situation.
people don't usually follow people around judging them and trying to kill them.
No, not at all.
And that's what Mike Huntley was sent after me to do with the psychology community.
Right.
Okay, so
High school.
okay, so this is important. Okay, how much time we have? Okay. I started in with Greg Walk. 16 years old, high school friend. You've now seen proof, not hearsay,
Right.
proof firsthand that Greg wasn't really my friend. He was around me. He wanted to do things with me. He was doing his little pranks. He was playing like porn on the speakers at my dad's
Oh
house
my gosh,
out
I
for the
remember
neighbors
that.
a year. He was getting people to chase me, jumping on my PA in my car, yelling at other cars. I'm not saying he's a bad guy for that.
Right.
What I'm saying is, did the Greg Wall prankster things are sort of being put on me?
Right. You're blamed for them.
Correct. And then what I'm saying, and these aren't things that people normally care about, yet if it's Kevin Perlman, he's a menace
It's
to
a huge
society.
deal.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
30 years ago,
Right.
as if anyone would care.
Right.
Okay, so
or
the
remember.
point is
Yeah.
that these little harmless things are being put on me like all the other things,
And blown
and then you see Greg on the phone, you know, our past is our past, blah,
I know,
blah,
trying to brush
and
it
I don't
off.
want to help you, and I don't want to
He
give
didn't
you
want
a
to talk
statement
about
on
it.
video to defend you, and
Have you played the second recording on here? The one,
no,
the conversation
no,
later.
it's a little
Okay.
longer. I emailed it to you, but it wasn't.
Well, I didn't know if like you put
No,
it
it
up or
just
not.
had the same things, but longer to solidify
Okay.
the dynamics of the relationship. But the important thing was his confession.
That it happened.
Yes, I did stop my brother from bashing your skull in with a crowbar.
Did he acknowledge that ever?
What?
Did he ever say that?
Yeah. on the
Oh,
phone.
good. On the second one?
Yeah, I'm sure he did, because I say, you know, look, let's do an interview. No.
Okay.
But he's on the first one. Yeah, I remember that. Okay, so
Mhm.
because remember, my family's whole scam is that
That didn't happen.
Kevin, Kid Taco, talks a lot in his fantasy world, and I've explained that I don't know how my mother has that information that my friends in high school called me Kid Taco.
I know.
But more importantly, it wasn't for talking. They were calling me a Mexican for building
These awesome
a beater
cars.
piece of shit, $300, 69 Firebirds.
But you built it yourself. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Okay, but the point is, my mother is
How would
spying
she
on
know?
me, and she's getting this information,
And
and then
twisting
she's
it.
twisting and contorting it with her delusional thoughts.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian Weaver and everyone's calling Kevin Kid Taco, so he must run around talking to himself.
Right.
Do you understand?
That
First
she's
she's
twisting
digging and
it.
she's meddling in my life, and then she's twisting and
Well, it's like
contorting
telephone.
things
It's
out
not.
of context, and then she's
Exactly.
putting psychological labels and evaluations, and then she's turning the entire planet against me, when the entire my
Yes.
friends sort of belittling me, calling me a Mexican, isn't the big. I didn't really give a shit.
No.
My friend Bucky, Brian Smith, didn't care that everyone called him Bucky with his screwed up teeth.
Right.
Right? I mean, these are high school things that nobody cares about, right?
No.
But my
Exactly.
mother's meddling in, collecting with their NSA level tools, and she's twisting and contorting and taking each thing out of context and obsessing on things that just don't matter.
Right.
Okay?
Mhm.
Things I never would have even thought about.
Me
I
either.
didn't care about.
Right.
Okay, so this is where we get into the importance. My brother and his friends reeling me in, or my family wanting me to move back from Colorado, to start a company with Mike Huntley, all of them putting on the peer pressure, get me
Right.
close to my father who's working on me with his office. And Mike Huntley working with all my friends from high school, one sequentially after the next, coming after me after I moved back from Colorado. Okay, that's strange.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see.
And then...
let me just read this off really quick. Okay, we got the Gregoire. You've seen the Gregoire.
Yes.
And how Gregoire comes back in my life with Mike Huntley at 28, saying he works for an internet company, blah, 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 trying to compete with me and this and that. Okay? Then we have Brian Weaver, the guy who reloaded the paint gun, making it look like I tried to shoot Shane Weeks' eye out.
Where is Brian? Where is this?
I just put a quick Brian Weaver right here.
Oh, did we talk about...
I didn't talk much about Brian Weaver. It gets really vast because he started it. He was the guy in 8th grade that bullied Ryan Hirsch.
Right.
And pinned it on me.
I remember
then
that.
I got into building cars. He copied me. And then started trying to sabotage me with Joe and Hawaii Racing. Make it look like I'm a criminal. My father making up the lies. I stole $10,000 from him in his office. My father didn't want me building cars.
What about this though? Because do we skip this one? Think it's strange about some of the high school things, like Clockwork Orange asked us to write our obituary.
Yeah, I'm sort of just trying to.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
In order.
So they make sense.
Because I
Sorry.
wrote these notes really fast.
Yeah. That stood out to me. So.
Okay, so Gregoire. So then, after I moved back, my friends make an effort to kind of find me, and they want me to go. I actually wasn't going to go to my 10-year reunion. They wanted me to go, but it turned out they had all these weird ulterior motives, and things started happening. Like
you went though.
I went out. Yeah, I went, and I can remember going to the 10th year high school reunion.
Yeah.
And afterwards, talking to my good friend from high school, Barry Verall, and Barry was mad at me as like I was competing with him with his architecture.
Really.
I don't even do architecture. I mean, I was in a mechanical engineering class with him or something, but...
Right.
So I'm thinking, like, where's this coming from? Why is he all of a sudden mad at me?
Right.
We were really good friends.
You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. And then I can remember, like, within the time period going out with Brian Weaver and Joel Littman, and one of their friends were getting married, and the stripper came out, and Brian was giving me this mean, angry look, and he said it's a public shaming. Like, what the fuck's this guy talking about?
What the hell?
So he's talking about Melody, the stripper, in 16 when I did the bachelor parties.
Yeah.
And he's also talking about probably the Roddy Morales and the 4 other peoples from 2030 St. Kevin was going to strip clubs, trying to set me up and frame me.
Mm-hmm.
But why is my good friend Brian Weaver, who copied me to build cars, so mad at me for things that don't matter? I mean, why? Do you understand?
No, I don't, because it makes no
Weaver
sense that he would be mad at you.
FBI police
Yeah.
officer mentality.
Right.
And remember, it starts in 8th grade. 8th grade. The kid running around, smashing all my car models, like I glued together all these. I was like 14, I glued together these cars.
So is he...
Smashing them, like, I hate Kevin, I'm smashing these. Is going around like it's a public shaming and we're going to hunt you down and kill you. Right?
Right. Jesus.
This is after I moved back from Colorado. Tom Hope calls me up, and he gets a job at Morgan Stanley, like the stockbroker.
Yeah.
While I'm working at Signet, and ironically, I've gotten some weird things just now with this guy. 18 years ago, he wants to migrate my stock accounts.
Mm-hmm.
He finds out I start investing in stocks. He gets mad. He wants to, hey Kevin, I just got a job at Morgan Stanley and I'm trying to, get some experience. Do you want to transfer all your accounts to me? And I do my friend a favor.
Yeah. Okay.
And then he leaves and he gives my accounts to a guy named Greg Gutslice, which obviously is hinting about Greg Gutslice with all the weird life freaky things.
Who's Ross Morgan? Is that, or did you mean Morgan Stanley? Or Ross Morgan?
Wait. No, Morgan Stanley, sorry. Ross Morgan was my old HOA.
Oh,
Morgan Stanley, stockbroker.
Okay.
IRA, stock accounts.
Yeah, it said Ross.
So all of a sudden
okay.
there's this huge thing with my family and the police trying to figure out what's all this money and what, right? So they go through everything, yeah. And it all starts with Tom Hope getting mad that I sort of started investing in a few stocks.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, and he's sending me over to Greg Gutslice, trying to hint about slicing people up with knives, which linked to my brother's, all the things my brother's trying to cover up.
Mm-hmm.
That's Tom Hope. Okay, then we have Joel Littman comes in and he starts pretty much working the angle that I supposedly, it's my fault that everyone called him Melonhead.
Why?
I think he had a big head or something.
Oh.
His name was Scott Jellin, and I don't know if this is true. Supposedly, they found him and he hung himself naked or something weird like that.
That's horrible.
Like, everyone kind of bullied him. Not bullied, like belittled him.
In high school? In high school?
Yeah. I don't know if any of it's true.
Right.
But the point is that I never said anything to Scott Jellin.
No.
Except hi.
Right.
Like, I was never friends with Scott Jellin.
Sad. Oh my god.
I was never friends with Scott Jellin.
Yeah.
I think I spoke to him once and he came down in our section, so I said like hi or whatever. That's it.
Did this happen in high school when you took his life?
I mean, I can't tell you.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Truth be told, I don't know if it ever happened.
Okay.
Now, one of Mike's words to me at 29 is like giving you enough rope to hang yourself with, and Joel Littman coming in and kept hinting about Scott Jellin, hinting that I supposedly pushed the guy to suicide. But remember, they also have Carissa Brands claiming that I supposedly made her go into a mental institution. Paul Humphrey's girlfriend, which I didn't do anything to.
No.
Right? You see a pattern of behavior here?
Mm-hmm. That's awful.
So, and by the way, there's a porn star around that time named Hunter Scott, who I believe was working on me too.
Really?
With Mike Hunt. Okay. So,
Can I run to the restroom?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so we were talking about Scott Jellin. Very important. Brittany got mad because I laughed. He had a big head, and she went in and went to the bathroom. That's just
no. I was like, huh?
So I was Kid Taco. Bucky had the big teeth. Bucky and Scott Jellin. But okay, so the point was that I never was friends with Scott. Like all these other people, I was never friends with Scott Jellin.
Right.
Which I believe that Joel Littman and Brian Weaver are sort of trying to pin with Mike Huntley and trying to say, well, Kevin pushed this guy to suicide. Okay, well, the first thing we need to ask, did Scott Jellin even commit suicide? I don't know.
Have you tried to look him up?
No, I haven't actually, because it's just I've been too consumed.
Right, understandably.
But did it even happen? That's the first question. I don't know. Is it just something that Joel was saying to make me think once again that I did something wrong?
It could be.
Right? Because let's think of the reality of the situation. I have worldwide groups trying to push me to suicide or remove me from society. I have girls like Carissa Brand working with Paul Humphrey saying I forced her into a mental institution. I have worldwide groups trying to check me into, force me into mental institutions. So it's got to be about something. Right? Then we have the whole Kevin's a bully and supposedly, obviously, through common sense, I supposedly did all these things to Scott Jellin.
But you didn't even talk to him like that.
The only thing I've ever said to him, he came down like one time in our little area. I think I said hi, and that's it. According to Joel Littman, after coming back from University of Colorado, he had hung himself naked or something like this. Obviously implying that he was the bullied kid,
that's so sad.
The outcast that ended his life because he didn't fit in, and somehow it's my fault.
That's awful.
But then, of course, they switched to the next 100 accusations.
Right.
Okay. Now, Mike Huntley saying he gave me enough rope to hang myself with. It's hard to know if that's what he was implying, or if he's implying I'm a drug lord. I don't know.
No.
Okay, so, but the point that we're making is that these are all my friends working on me one by one as I've come back from University of Colorado.
What is the, are you going to talk about the English thing?
Yeah, let me finish.
Sorry,
okay, so Joel Littman, don't worry, I'm watching. Joel Littman also, I get the saltwater aquariums, then he copies me, just like Brian Weaver did in high school, then starts telling all the fish stores worldwide to attack me in angry rages for getting into that hobby, showing a pattern of behavior. Brian Weaver doing that at 16 when I start building cars.
Okay.
But what's the most important question?
Why?
How do they have the resources to contact every fish store in the world, every car auto shop in the world?
Right. And so, wait, so the saltwater tanks started in high school?
No,
After?
maybe 35, 36.
Oh, okay. That's so
Sort of
cool.
trying to find hobbies while being hunted.
What kind of fish?
Well,
Exotic fish?
I don't want to get too sidetracked.
I'm sorry,
but-
that's
they're
really
all,
cool.
Saltwater's all exotic, but
That's so
they're
cool.
awesome, but it's so much maintenance. But
You still
you have two choices.
Uh-huh.
You have the predator fish or the friendly fish.
Right.
You can't put them together.
Right.
And then you have the corals.
And the sea slugs?
Some fish eat some corals.
Mm.
And then you have the crabfish, whatever, the shrimpies or the shellfish.
Right.
And then you have to really be careful. Like, I wanted to do puffer, blowfish, and things
Oh my
like that.
gosh, yeah.
But then I found out, well, they eat all your corals and they attack all the nice fish.
Right.
So I had more of the clownfish, I had
Oh
starfish.
my god, so cool.
I had one mean starfish to
Really?
go eat all the...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then, the angelfish are
Oh,
classified
I was
as
gonna
the predators.
ask. They're predators?
Yeah.
What? Did you have any sea slugs or sea bananas or whatever they're called? Sea cucumbers. Those things are cool.
I had a whole bunch of cool corals though. The corals were beautiful.
Yeah, I bet. Well,
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Go
So
ahead.
anyways,
Go ahead.
back to reality. Okay, so Joel Littman, you get the idea that all these people are working on me with every angle.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian Weaver saying it's a public shaming while telling the world that I'm doing all these things I didn't do. But they're using government tools with
Resources.
billions of dollars. That's the most important part.
Right.
Why? Okay, so now, where are we? Okay, so now we're going to go to the teachers in Calabasas High. Okay,
Okay.
those were my friends, student friends. Now let's go to the teachers. Okay, and I just sort of realized this last night or this week. Most of them are English teachers or Spanish teachers.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. And Christy Reynolds in 8th grade was in Miss Vaughn's English class. 8th grade, Miss Vaughn's English class is when my family and everyone got mad at me for checking out Christy Reynolds.
Okay.
She felt uncomfortable, which I don't blame her.
Well, you didn't do anything inappropriate, did you? No.
I mean, I didn't drop trow or anything, start smacking her face with my penis.
Ew.
But
I wasn't expecting drop trow. I've never heard that before. Okay, so anything other than that?
no, what happened was that I was totally attracted to Christy Reynolds.
You were shy.
And I was
right?
very shy.
Yeah, I remember.
I've always
seeing
been kind of quietish, not an icebreaker.
that. Right.
Not really shy, but I mean, problem breaking the ice.
Yeah. So you just
And
noticed
so I was
her.
kind of checking her out, like, oh, she's cute.
Mhm.
This sort of little
8th grade.
OCD-ish 8th grade, I keep looking at her.
Well, yeah.
And she feels uncomfortable. She says, Kevin, why do you keep looking at me? And I was too scared
to say anything.
to say I like you. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'm in 8th grade, and I'm shy
8th grade,
and
yeah,
a little
you're
introverted.
young.
Well, barely introverted.
Yeah.
Majority of my life. But they try to use that one against me too. And that's it. And then Tom Farley's told to stalk me with Tracy Picos.
Mm-hmm.
Picos.
Right.
Peeping Tom Farley tries to Tracy Picos me to death and all these things.
Mhm.
Brian Weaver works with Ryan Hirsch to say I bullied him.
Right.
Kevin's angry. He hates women. It's my mother. It's a death stare. She didn't say it
Oh.
directly. She said, "What is that, Kevin? A death stare?"
When you
I was
were
about
looking at-
35
Oh.
at our house, making me understand the dynamics of the communication.
A death stare looking at who? Sorry.
My mother, like today, refused to talk about what's going on.
Right.
And I kept bringing up the issue. Look, Mom, these people keep fucking attacking me
Right.
in Vancouver. What's going on? She, like usual, still, she won't answer the stupid, simple question.
Mm-hmm.
My mind's racing a little because I'm
course.
consuming Canadians attacking me. every place in the world.
And you were 30. This had just like come, like you had just started to.
Yeah, my mother's lying, and I suffer from this and that. My mind's racing a little, like
Of course it is.
reliving a few hours before.
Well, weren't you just figuring everything out at that around that, like 29?
I'm still figuring things out. That's the scary part. I figured out where the grass is greener came from this week.
Where?
The things with Nikki Delano and the porn, the grass is greener porn, comes from the movie 1960, The Grass is Greener. And my mother telling me that my past caught up with me and I have to leave the country comes from the movie The Grass is Greener.
Oh, really?
Just like Kelly Hatch working on me with 1946 Bad Seed. Well, let me tell you something. If someone's working on me with movie mental illness tactics from the 40s and 60s, who do you think it is? Because I was born in 72.
Right.
Okay, think about that.
Someone older than you.
Someone older than me and probably my parents. Okay, so she says, my mind's racing as I'm looking at her, like her direction.
You're thinking, yeah.
And she says, what is that, a death stare? With this angry voice.
When you were... Okay.
And I kind of correlated that with Christy Reynolds.
Right.
Well, I wasn't giving Christy Reynolds a mean stare.
Not at all.
I wasn't like...
You weren't mean mugging.
Right? I was kind of like...
Glancing up, like, yeah,
she's cute.
of course. You were a little
She's
kid.
cute. I want to bury my face in that. Okay, so
You were in
anyways,
8th grade.
Yeah, in 8th grade. Okay, and that's when Brian Weaver was Ryan Hirsch and whatever. Okay, so
Well, they're going to be able to cut back.
that was Miss Vaughn, English class, 8th grade. Okay,
Right.
now,
What is the whole obituary thing?
okay, so now we're going to go through my teachers. English class, 11th grade, Miss Tunick. Class, we want you to write a book report for the book, A Clockwork Orange. I never thought about this thing, but is there any thought coming to your head right now?
Explain.
All right.
Well, I don't know. A book report about the film or about the book.
Stanley Kubrick's violent movie, A Clockwork Orange, in 11th grade English class, by Miss Tunick. Once again, they're mad at me about music. Miss Tunick, Melody the Stripper, Miss Tunick. Okay, so, there's no thoughts.
What? Then you write it and your name's on it, so then they're
Well,
gonna
the thought,
flip it
and
around, or
I'm
what?
not certain on this one, but my thought is, why is an English teacher having kids read Clockwork Orange?
I don't know. What grade was that?
11th grade.
11? Okay.
Do you think that's a little out of context?
I think it's a little. Yeah.
I mean, gangs of
Intense.
people raping people and killing them?
I think it's intense. I don't know what. That's like
If I was
traumatic.
a
I
teacher, if I was
think.
the 11th grade teacher, I wouldn't be like,
Do you remember the context of why?
well, they don't tell you why. They just say do a book. I mean, I don't think they don't. Okay, so anyways,
Weird.
and there was something else going on in that class with Mike, my friend Stefano Cho and Mike Cho. I only saw Mike Cho once in my entire life. I never saw him in any other classes around the school. There was in 11th grade, I sat next to Stefano Cho, who had to take over the class, got caught cheating on a vocabulary test, which was a really cool cat. I love Stefano. He could cram pizza in his face like
None other.
we used to go on these pizza runs. Whatever, I'm not gonna get it. He's Asian, obviously. And then down, way to my left, like way down at the other end, was Mike Cho. And he had this like Tourette's. He would just sit there and flip out every 10 minutes. You goddamn communist bastards! You goddamn communist bastards! And I can't really tell you
Something
what
was
the whole
going on with him,
two
though.
things are about. But being that everyone's sort of trying to push me to that limit and turn me into Kid Taco, literally, get me to talk to myself with my family hiring court reporters to audio record what goes on in my house. Well, police try to break in my house while they try to make me crazy.
Right.
I have a feeling they also probably are running around saying that I made Mike Cho crazy. Even though I've never even seen the guy except for that class.
Right. He had some.
Okay, so there's this big thing with people mad at me about Clockwork Orange. There's people mad at me for singing in the Rain on IRC, but they can't understand that singing Singing in the Rain actually comes from the movie Singing in the Rain,
Right.
not Clockwork Orange, even though when he's raping the girl, he's
Oh.
singing in the rain.
I haven't seen the movie.
Okay, so anyways,
Jeez.
you get the idea,
I
though,
do.
right? Okay, now, Mr. Baylor's English class. Baylor was my auto shop teacher and my English teacher. Baylor wants us to write a paper. He wants the students to all write our obituaries.
Why?
I can't remember.
Okay.
But don't you find that a little out of the norm
Weird.
as well?
Yeah. Like, why? Like, I'm trying to think, like, the rational reasons, like, what do you want people to remember about you? But, like, what is the context of that? I don't get it. But yeah.
It seems a little morbid to me.
It
but
does, me too.
I'm not saying people don't do things that are creative, but it seems all these things a little out of context to me now, looking back.
Yeah.
I wrote a Naked Gun. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Naked Gun with Leslie Nielsen. I wrote like when he died. It's all comedy. Like he dies and he falls. He's like falling down and his head hits the iron and then he jumps up and this happens and that happens and then and it's just comical, right?
Yeah.
Like, and he doesn't die. It takes forever to die because all these comical things keep
Okay.
happening. Okay, so I wrote a paper like that. And I remember my mom got a hold of it and she seemed like all concerned.
Really?
Why did you write this?
Just like with your art?
Yeah. It's like a sign. And
It's
I turned it into a comedy. And then I wrote a paper for him about cars and women, talking about the curves. Obviously,
Play on
cars is
words.
analogies or synonyms of women, whatever. Okay, so
Yeah.
Okay, now also Mr. Baylor, also in the auto shop class, a couple things happened. One was, and this really isn't the biggest deal, but when he was torquing the head bolt, he was torquing the wrong head thing. I said, Mr. Baylor, it's not whatever. I said, it's this.
Oh, did
He
you
said,
get mad?
no, it's this. And I kind of, look, he's going to snap the bolt. And then he snaps the bolt, whatever, and everyone kind of laughs.
And he got mad.
I guess he got mad.
Because you knew better.
But something else happened. He gave us an automotive test, and then he left the room. And then my friend Tom Farley and Craig Diamond come up, and they wanted to cheat off my paper, kind of like the movie Spies Like Us.
I haven't seen it.
That's another comedy with Chevy Chase. But anyway.
Oh, really?
And it seemed, now looking back with Tom Farley doing all these things to me, they were profiling me, you understand?
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to set you up and get you to make the wrong decisions to use against you to make you look like the bad seed.
Right.
Okay, now, Mr. Quigley. This one's more important. Mr. Quigley was my PE teacher.
Oh, yeah.
And my English class teacher. And in English, Paul Schaefer was bullying me. I remember, my lawyer, Seymour, has called me a bully.
Ridiculous.
Now, in English class, 10th grade English class, Mr. Quigley tells me to punch Paul Schaefer when he kind of pushes me over in the chair.
That's crazy.
Do you see a problem with this?
Yes. He's telling you to assault.
And my mother's running around saying we just want to toughen you up. Yeah, and lock me in jail, and get me to sell drugs, and get me to chop off some people's heads. She just wants to toughen me up. Yeah, okay, sure. Right?
No.
But at the same time, worldwide groups are following me around like you're a dead man for things I didn't do.
Did nobody think it was weird that your teacher was telling you to, like, sock this kid in the face?
That's where things all fall apart. Okay, I've just rattled out how many friends stalking me.
Yeah.
Saying they're public shamings, lawyers throwing me in maximum security prison for no reason at all, who won't give the truthful story.
Right.
Seymour saying something weird like, when you were a kid, you didn't get a fair chance, but then they're destroying my life.
Seymour said that?
Yeah, but then at the same time they're destroying my life, like...
Right.
Okay, so now there's no chance.
Right.
Okay, so, but the point is, without getting too sidetracked, I didn't punch Paul Schaefer, and yet they're running around saying I'm a violent paranoid schizo with worldwide support. That's strange, but it shows you what's going on.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Brian Weaver saying it's public shaming, but I made all the right decisions, showing you that they were going to always come to the same conclusion, no matter how good I am.
Right.
Okay,
Oh, what time is it, do you know?
it's getting late.
Okay.
It's 12:27. Miss Garcia's Spanish class around 10th grade. I've always fallen asleep in Miss Garcia's class, so Paul Schaefer would set the alarm on his Casio watch and throw it under Miss Garcia's desk, trying to make it look like I was faking sleeping.
Really?
And trying to provoke her into reactions.
Okay.
Then Mr. Quigley, in English class, telling me to punch Paul Schaefer. Then didn't see with Worldwide Report running around saying I'm a public nuisance, a menace to society, and need to be removed from society.
Right.
See some strange.
It's all like, yeah.
They're all linked.
It's all set up.
Yeah, you do.
Like they're on that under the desk or whatever, trying to.
Yeah, they're all being told to work on it. The teachers are working with the students to set me up and frame me to make it look like I'm the bad seed.
He
to lock me
definitely
in jail or mental institutions. Probably trying to make it look like I'm a violent paranoid schizo to put me in what's that school or whatever. Like if you commit a crime.
Halfway house.
What?
A halfway house or detention?
No,
alternative school.
Like if you're under 18 and you commit a crime, they put you
juvenile
in,
detention. Juvie.
Thank you. Okay, sort of try to push me down that path to lock me away, just like they're still doing.
Right.
Right. At 47, non-stop since 5 years old. You're pretty much have to close shop, right? Yeah. So let me we didn't even really touch this, but I think I got the report in high school. English, Baylor, Quigley, family, Tom Hook, Brown, Joel Littman. Oh, one last thing. Damon Riggins.
Second page?
Yeah. As I was working at Signet, Damon Riggins just happened to come down to our office, which was in Calabasas High, the black kid with the Camaro that I kind of raced around a little with my Trans Am, trying to make it into some kind of racial thing and like I hate black people.
That's terrible.
Competing with Damon Riggins, the football player, and I also supposedly hate football players and crazy things like this.
When it's the complete opposite.
Obviously contacted by Mike Huntley to come down to the office.
Right. I mean, it's the complete opposite of like.
Yeah. Because normally you're going to say, look, Kevin built cars, and Damon was screwing around revving the engine, and Kevin's revving the engine. They start to race around a little, and that's it.
Right.
And that was 30
Not
years
a big
ago, and
deal.
who cares?
Right.
I mean, the amount of people that I have on video with hit and runs or reckless driving that nobody can care less about. And it's like, Kevin, you went 60-40 30 years ago, so we have a worldwide campaign to kill you. You're a menace to society.
No.
It doesn't make any sense,
Zero
right?
sense. Zero.
And then it's racial, and now I hate Damon
Even though
Riggins,
it makes no
and I'm
sense.
jealous and competing with football players. And
But you're hanging out with him. Like if you didn't like him,
I mean,
you probably wouldn't be spending
hang out
time.
in the same cliques or anything. We just kind of sported around.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And then Mike Huntley also staged a setup or some kind of thing at our gym where Mike Huntley provoked a friend of Damon Riggins' younger brother, Chris Cosma's younger brother, in the gym, in our gym, and I kind of jumped in the way, stopping it, but he was provoking.
You always like try to prevent these things from happening.
Just, you're in a public occasion, you see a fight break out, it just makes sense to sort of try to stop it, and hopefully you can without getting hurt, but if it goes too far, I'll jump out of the way and go, okay, guy pulls out a gun or something, I'm like, okay, I'm gone.
Right, but you try to do the right thing.
You try
That's
to do the
what
right
I'm
thing.
saying.
And
Well,
I think that most people kind of do that. They don't sit there like, give me popcorn.
Well, some do, some don't. Some, do the right thing. Do you want me to take this with me, or do you want to hold it till next
I'll just print
time?
another one, that's fine.
So you want me to take
I know you have to go. Do you have any last thoughts about Gregoire, the dynamics of everyone in high school, the teachers?
It's just like appalling. And then as you're talking about it and you telling me the different components and how they fit together, it's like holy shit.
And so this is a 29. Why they got so angry that they didn't want me figuring out?
Because you started figuring it out and putting it together.
Yeah, and their choice is that in order to stop him from thinking, mentally bashes skull in with psychological warfare. I try to force them on meds and this and that,
Because then
instead of
you're-
addressing the truth.
Right. Because then you're discredited in a way. Like
Yeah.
if you're okay.
And now, they're already remember, well, he's crazy, violent, paranoid schizo. Now we're watching you to control every aspect of what I say to who, because they don't want the truth coming out.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And what's most important is that everything going on now, trying to make me look crazy, and this all links back to those events which we're talking about now.
This is the context that you're talking about.
Correct.
Earlier.
And this is all 8th grade into high school up until 12th grade.
Right. Like
Way before all
back.
these other things they're trying to accuse me of.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's all.
That's
It's
pretty it.
crazy.
So
Yeah.
we'll stop it here, and
Next time.
until next time,
hopefully.
we'll continue. But now you at least understand we're getting closer and closer back down towards the roots of where things are starting,
Yeah.
and not the nows. Well, Kevin just flipped out at 29. He's a crazy man. Needs to be removed from society.
Right.
It doesn't quite mesh. So
And yeah, understanding your back, like the backstory. And the
yeah,
context
how
and
things
everything.
start, why they're happening, why people don't want
The
me
facts
talking.
of what happened then too. you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Okay, so interesting enough, this time, this discussion with Brittany at Aroma Cafe was a little different. When I arrived to Aroma Cafe, I noticed that the entire parking lot was forward. It was early in the morning, about 9:40. The entire parking lot was forward, which is rare. I think I spoke with her. She arrived at about 10:30, and I spoke with her to about 12:30, and then she had to leave. Obviously, cars started showing up. They all parked forwards. The clothing patterns were fairly normal, not much foot traffic. Until about 12:30, when Brittany had to leave, people started showing up. People started honking their alarm horns 2 or 3 times to try to provoke me. People showed up in the blue jeans, pink shirts, the all blacks, I think, some stripes, horizontal and vertical, black and white stripes, and some of the other patterns which I show and Brittany has witnessed. But this time, it was as she was leaving, these groups started to show up, not in or as aggressive as normal. For example, normally, like the last video, if you watched it, you saw in about an hour's time 15 people in all black show up, and a lot of them were walking by each other in large groups. This time was more spread and more subtle, so it's harder to pin down, but I can see it because I've seen it for 18 years. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play now probably an hour to an hour and a half of DVR video recording these people showing up with the clothing color patterns and honking the alarm horns maybe twice in this time period in patterns of twos, like honk honk. And it's not too exciting to watch, but it's there in case you want to watch it, or for history's sake, or whatever. It's now, attached to this video. Another thing is, after that, I went in to get a haircut at Supercuts next door. The Asian employee was playing the games, I don't know you, who are you, blah, blah, blah. Then telling me weird things that I have a lot of fear. And as I'm leaving, saying bye-bye, like they did with Detective Angela Stewart, contacting all the lawyers to say bye-bye and things like that as some kind of threat message. Then as I was sitting there, other strangers will walk out and they would say bye-bye to her, trying to trigger me and provoke me and create this paranoid schizophrenia, make it look like I have paranoid schizophrenia and I'm a violent paranoid schizo. But most importantly, these things didn't happen when Brittany was there. They happened right as she was leaving,
And another Asian came out of Aroma Cafe, sweeping as I was eating, and she kept kind of like trying to get closer and closer and sweep under my feet to try to trigger me into a reaction, saying I'm a nice person, and then asking me if I can move while I'm eating while she's sweeping, and me going, look, can you like finish sweeping after I finish eating or whatever, and then her going in back into Aroma Cafe. And not only that, but the owner, or I don't know if she's the owner, but another Asian employee, when I first go in, trying to sort of manipulate me to sit inside, which was strange. But then after around maybe 12:15, coming out to strangers showing up with the color patterns and saying enjoy, which doesn't seem strange off the surface, but for years at every restaurant, hostesses and women and waitresses were told when they see me to say enjoy over and over like 100,000 times to try to trigger me into a reaction to go after them. So that's one of the strategic psychological warfare tactics. But most importantly, this time, all these tactics started right after Brittany was leaving, and that's when everyone started showing up. And it was a little bit different than normal. A little more spread, a little more scattered. The groups weren't all together. The timing wasn't timed perfectly. Like a lot of times, two people will show up at the same exact time with the same clothing colors. You know, maybe they're 10 minutes apart. Right? You get the idea. So here it is. Not too exciting, but it's here if you need to see it now or in the future.
then they have it on the side too. Really?
Starting normal recording. Parking mode off. An impact was detected during parking mode.